Hey, if you're pregnant over 40, I have just the community for you. It's a private community away from Facebook where women just like you come together to meet and support one another during pregnancy. To sign up for the waitlist, go to over40fabulousandpregnant.com/waitlist and be the first to know when the membership is open. I can't wait to see you inside. Welcome to Over 40 Fabulous and Pregnant. I am your host, Jamie Massey, and you're listening to episode 66. If you are looking for pregnancy stories of women over 40, you've come to the right place. And today on the show, we have Jenn on to share her pregnancy journey at 41. In this episode, she had 2 babies in her 20s and wanted a third. But after years of trying, at 34, she wasn't ovulating. And the doctor told her she had a slim to none chance of ever getting pregnant. Like many of us, we are planners, right? I mean, I know I am. And Jenn was very upset when she first found out she was pregnant. And she's definitely not the first guest to experience this. And that is just to attest the amazing honesty we get from our guests too. And then her dad, oh my gosh, it was so sweet. Her dad mentioned that it would be nice if she gave birth on her grandmother's birthday. And she made it happen. It was a week before her due date. I teared up all over again while I was editing that part. Jenn has such an amazing energy. I know you're really going to like this story. But first, I have a few things. I mean, don't I always have a few things to say? What's interesting is I've had a few guests resist being on the show. One thought her story was too boring, and another thought she got pregnant too easily. Now, it was never my intention to make this show about hard pregnancies over 40. No. I believe we need to hear all diverse stories, from super easy to hard shows, and how different each of our stories really are. And I always find something in each story to connect with. Today, I am over 14 weeks pregnant. We had our first OB appointment. No, we didn't have an OB appointment. We had our first appointment with a midwife on Friday. I know I said it on Instagram, but I'm going to say it here too. After going to the OB for miscarriages and bleeding and continuously bad news, and then the fertility clinic for almost 2 years, this was our very first appointment where I was just a normal pregnancy patient. It felt really good. It really did. And I was told over the phone before I came to the appointment that it would be an hour with a sonogram. And it was really nice this time to sit on a sofa for an appointment instead of those lovely beds with paper on it. We did go over lots of questions like, when is your due date? Yes, I am also confused by the IVF due date too. Then she asked the age of the genetic mother, and I kind of paused. At first, it kind of upset me, but then I realized, hey, Jamie, chill out. I'm sure donor eggs are not something she comes in contact with a lot, and she probably doesn't see it often. So I responded, the egg donor was 26 years old. Breathe, Jamie. Blood work was also a requirement for this appointment. and we were given the option for the nip test. I know it's given to many women way before 14 weeks, but I think we're a little behind things, and that's okay. It tests for genetic things like Down syndrome and stuff like that with the baby, and it will tell us the gender of the baby. That was kind of more important for me. We didn't do embryo testing, and because there's really a low chance of things like that happening with a donor that's 26-year-old, but we went ahead and agreed and had it done. So our results are in 1 to 2 weeks. That's really exciting. I have been forever not wanting to know the sex of the baby, but I'm also having a hard time believing this pregnancy is real and it's going to happen. And I think knowing the sex will help me connect with the baby. Isn't it fun to have the option to change your mind? I do it all the time. And my husband doesn't really care either way. I'm guessing it's a boy. And I don't have any real reason to believe that either. So we'll see. Then the midwife told me we were not doing a sonogram, and I had a moment of panic. Being an IVF patient really spoiled me in that regard. I guess I conveyed my panic well, or she's just amazing because she let us have our sonogram. I'm sure I'll get the bill for it, but it was kind and I'm really glad we did it. Now it's been 4 weeks since we've seen the baby moving around. This was another first for us. There was no undressed from the waist down this time. I had a regular ultrasound, just like a regular pregnant patient. The feeling was foreign to me, and the baby looked much different on screen. Besides the baby being 4 weeks older, we could see bones, and it just looked different on the screen. One thing remained the same, was that beautiful heartbeat. We got one of those great printouts because we'd never gotten printouts except for when we graduated, and we just got one. And so this time we got like 5 or 6 printouts that I've seen online and just haven't thought much about it. And now I get to be just like that. Oh, so our next appointment isn't until 18 weeks, and then the anatomy scan is 2 weeks later. Oh my gosh. Halfway is a little over a month and a half away. Oh my gosh. I have probably said amazing or I can't believe it at least 100 times, but I really mean it. It's true. And please don't forget about the community. I am fine-tuning it, so it's going to be ready very soon. Be sure to get on the wait list to be the first to know. There will be a link in the show notes. And with that, let's get into the show. Jenn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Jenn is joining us at 42 to share her story. But before we do that, Jenn, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I just turned 42 actually. So just had my birthday a couple days ago. I am a mom of 3, kind of a little bit about that whole story to begin with. So my son is almost 20. My first daughter, her name is Harley. So my son's name is Riker. My first daughter's name is Harley. She's 16. And then we just had a baby. So she's just 2.5 months old. And her little name is Carson Jade. Cutest little thing ever. But yeah, so that's where we are. I've been married for 20. Oh, my husband would be so mad. How many years? 20, I think we just had 22 years.
Oh,
So we've
nice.
been together for a while. That's a question that I've gotten a lot actually since this whole thing went down is this a second marriage? You guys just decided to have another kid? But no, so we've been married the whole time. And I am a Cadillac sales director with Mary Kay. So, I have a really big passion for enriching women's lives and for really helping them basically just design their life. I mean, so that's what I get to do on a daily basis. So when, Jamie, you reached out to me, I was like, oh, this is perfect because this is very similar. I know you have a passion for helping women and give them inspiration. And that's kind of like what I do on the daily as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, but I'm excited to share my journey and my story and, just kind of see where that whole thing leads.
So your youngest at the time, almost a year ago, was 16, I guess 15
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
So how did it start?
Okay. So we're going to just talk about the whole story, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the whole thing I think is just really crazy. So I guess we should go back clear to when I first had my kids. So
Okay.
we got married and this is so crazy to even say out loud, but I was 20. We just got married and my husband was 26, so he's a little bit older than me. And I kept thinking, just like after we got married, like we should just have kids. Like I felt like at the time my husband was getting older, and I was like, we should
At
just have kids
26.
now. Right. I know. Like I said, for me to even say that out loud now, I'm like, oh my goodness. But that was my mindset back then. And so we'd been married for 2 months and I decided like, we're going to go off birth control and we're just going to see what happens. And so that's what we did. And 4 months later, we actually got pregnant with our son. And so that happened. And so we had our son in 2004. And then it was very quick. So then a couple of years later, we were like, well, maybe we should have another one. So we decided to go off birth control. And this time it actually took us like over a year to get pregnant. So I'm not really sure like what what happened there or whatever. We just thought like it will happen when it happens, but it did take us over a year. So we had her. So we got pregnant with our Harley and we had her. And then about a year later, I was like, well, it took us a year to get pregnant because we wanted to have like 3 or 4 kids. Like that was just kind of our plan. And that's what we wanted to have happen. And so a year later after we had her, I was like, well, it took us a year to get pregnant with her. So maybe if I go off birth control now, we'll take us a year and then we'll go from there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, about a year later, we did get pregnant with a third. And unfortunately, we did have a miscarriage with that one. And that one actually will lead into this story a little bit more because I was almost 16 weeks along with that one when I lost it. And it was traumatizing.
Yeah.
Like it was probably one of the most traumatic things that has ever happened, just the whole way it went down and everything. But yeah, so we had that miscarriage. I was obviously very devastated. And yeah, so that one happened.
Yeah.
And then next year, no, go ahead.
Do you know what happened?
No. So that's the crazy thing. So when I think back to just that whole time, we missed our appointment at 12 weeks. I can't remember what we were doing in life, but I ended up missing that doctor's appointment. And then basically what happened a few weeks later is my body just went into labor, but now I know it was because the baby was already gone. So my body was just like, doing its natural process. But yeah, so I woke up that morning, everything was normal. My husband was downstairs with the kids and I was just like bleeding. And so, yeah, obviously we rushed to the doctor and, there wasn't a heartbeat and stuff. And then I actually ended up giving birth there at the doctor's office. Like I started having contractions and it was, yeah, but when there wasn't really any testing done, which there's a whole thing to that because I was very upset about like just how the whole thing was handled. But yeah, so I really have no idea like why it happens, what happens, and I don't know had we went to that doctor's appointment before, if it was already gone then or if it wasn't, you know what I mean? So I'm not sure like when it all happened. But yeah, so that all happened.
Wow. That's tough.
Right. Yeah, it was. It was very tough, actually. And then about a year later, in 2010, we got pregnant again. And that one just was very short. So I don't even think I was like 8 weeks along when my body got rid of that one as well. And so it was devastating, to have two children already and then to have these miscarriages when they're just very unexplained. So after that, my doctor that I had, she was great and very supportive. And so obviously she knew we were trying to have another baby, but we did all sorts of testing. So all sorts of testing, they put me on Clomid. So I don't know if you probably know a
Hmm.
lot about Clomid, but yeah,
Yeah.
Clomid, and it was awful. So,
Like the side
uh,
effects.
yes, like I was a raging, not nice person. Like it was awful. So I was on it for about 6 months, and basically at that 6 month mark, I was like, okay, so either like I need to just go off of this, or we're going to end up getting divorced because it was just. I was out of my mind. I was not myself, and I didn't feel right. I didn't feel normal. But with all the testing that they did, it was just so weird. Like basically the long and short of it is just my body was not ovulating for whatever reason. So obviously it had because I was pregnant 4 times, but for whatever reason, it just at that time I was no longer ovulating. And so we did test after test after test, and really just month after month, there was no ovulation happening. And so it was just even with Clomid, even with isn't that
What?
so crazy, right? Isn't that so crazy? So just very unexplained. And so my doctor just basically said, like for whatever reason, your body is just not responding, not working. And so unless something changes, like your chances of getting pregnant are slim to none.
Uh-huh.
So for the next 5 years, I would say we were definitely still trying. I
Hmm.
mean, we were definitely still trying. Like I was still tracking, like our periods like we do when we're trying to get pregnant. And so was guessing when I thought I would be ovulating, and it just never happened. And
Hmm.
so, after those miscarriages, after just a long time, at this point, my daughter Harley is like 7. And so I'm like, I think we just need to be grateful and good with the kids that we have. And that's kind of where my mindset was. Like our daughter
Hmm.
is 7, my son is 10. And so right now there's a big gap. And so I just feel like our family is complete. Like this is what we've been given, and I'm just going to choose to be good with it. And that's where it was. And my mindset was that from then on. And I was good with it. Like
Hmm.
honestly, I was so good with it. And there's a fun little piece in here that wasn't funny, but is funny now to think about it. My sister would always say, we're very close, and she would always say, like, no, you're going to have another baby. I know it. And even like just probably months before I actually got pregnant, and that at this point you've got to understand, like it was nowhere anywhere more on my radar to have another baby. In fact, when my sister would say that, I would literally get so upset, and I would be like, listen, if this happens, I am not kidding. I'm going to come to your house with my pregnancy test in hand. I'm going to punch you in the face. Like I am not that, like I am 40. I am not having another baby. Like you need to get over that. We are done. Like at this point, I'm looking forward to grandkids. Like that's where my head was at.
Yeah.
Like my son is 19. I'm looking forward to grandkids, and I was good. Like
Yeah.
there was no baby in my brain. My husband will tell you that, I never felt like we were done as far as like I thought we were supposed to have more, but I was completely good with where we were. And I had completely 100% accepted that like we were going to have grandkids, and that was great.
Uh-huh. At what
Yeah.
age was this kind of all unfolding?
Like that thought process.
Yeah.
So I probably was 33,
Hmm.
34, somewhere right in there, 33, 34. And I think having the doctors confirm, like, you're not going to have any more kids, because your body is just not doing what it's supposed to do. I think kind of just like put that nail in, and I was just like, okay, we've got our two kids, and some people aren't blessed with any, so
Mhm.
I just felt I wanted to feel fortunate that we had what we had, and then just be good. And
Mhm.
that's where I was.
Mhm.
Long time.
So what happened? Your sister is telling you
Yeah, she
that,
said she prayed for it every night. She's like, I pray for
oh.
you all the time. And she's being sarcastic, but now I'm like, no, she really was. Like, I
Mhm.
really feel like she was. So I guess let's rewind to last year. So right about this time, like we're pretty sure I got pregnant right at my birthday. So right about this exact time. So it's kind of crazy that we're doing this now because I feel like it's just a God wink that we are doing it now, because
Yeah.
it's like in a year. And I believe we got pregnant. I thought I had a period in December. If you do the math, I did not have a period in December. So I'm not really sure how we missed that, but we missed it apparently. But when you're not trying or tracking, and my periods aren't bad, so I guess I just missed it. Like I don't really even know like what happened. But we went through all of December. And here's the crazy thing is there were things that happened in December that I was just a little off. Like a little off. My mood was weird. Like there were things that were happening that were not a big deal that I found myself getting upset about, like little things. And I'm going to tell this on me because it was just stupid. Like it was so crazy. But my husband brought home a salad that I wanted from a restaurant that was the wrong salad. And I was so upset about it. And honestly, I was like, what is my deal? And usually I'm really good at like helping myself through things, like walking myself through things and getting back to, my normal state of mind. And I couldn't. I don't even know. I can't even explain what was happening. It was just so weird. And so I started thinking like maybe I'm going through menopause. Like maybe I'm that's what's happening. Like maybe I'm going through menopause. Like I feel weird. I feel off. Just my whole mindset was just in a really weird place. And so that happened. I couldn't get my mindset right. And I had worked up into this time, and I think we're going to go into that like a little bit later, but I I was having so I had worked really hard on where my body was. So for a long time, I didn't exercise or really be mindful about like what I put into my body as far as food and stuff goes. And for the last few years, I had worked really super hard. So I was working out 4 to 5 times a week. I was in really good shape. And I was being really mindful about like the foods that I was eating because I was just trying to be overall like a healthier person. Like I've worked really hard on my mindset and then I was working really hard on me physically. And I believe wholeheartedly now it's the reason I got pregnant. I really believe like what I had done physically like basically just kind of reset my body. And I believe like my body just started working again. I really believe like that's why we got pregnant. And so, hindsight, right? Looking back, just crazy, like all of the things that went down. So we went through December last year with me being weird and not being able to explain like what was happening. And then January comes, and I was in Nashville, Tennessee for an event that I went to for Mary Kay. And I was there, and, there was just a couple weird things that happened. Number one was I went to put my skirt on, and it was not fitting right. Like it was just like I was really poochy, and I was like, freak, what have I been eating? Like when we get back, I have got to like get it together because I have not had this pooch for a while. You know what I mean? Because when you're used to your body being a certain way, and I was all of a sudden really poochy. And so that happened in Nashville. And then we went out in Nashville, did some karaoke bars and stuff, the things that you do while you're in Nashville is
Mhm.
super fun. And the next morning I woke up and I literally felt like I got hit by a bus. Like I should not have felt like that. Like I felt like I got hit by a bus. Like it was just so weird. And I had just like no energy. And I did not even know what was happening. And I will remember this forever, but I remember waking up that morning and I don't know if it was God or if it was just my intuition or what it was, but all of a sudden, a little voice in my head said, "You are pregnant." And I was like, no, no, no. And then all of a sudden, my brain started going to, when was my last period? And then I kind of went into panic mode, like going through, and it's kind of funny because me and my husband joke every time, like I would have a period, like, we call it all sorts of names, like Aunt Flo is in town and all the things. So we usually have conversation banter every time that happens, that time of the month. So I'm going through my messages frantically, like trying to find that conversation that happened in December, and I can't find it like anywhere. And I was like, what is happening? Like, how would I just not know that I missed a period? Like, I know I had one. So then I was like, did I have one? And I was honestly just in such limbo. And so for the rest of that event, for the next 2 days, I really was kind of in such a somber place in my head. And I didn't mention it to anyone. So I didn't mention it to the girls that I was with. I did not mention it to my husband. So my husband picks me up from that event in Idaho Falls, which is a very small airport. So he picks me up at like 10 o'clock at night. So I don't say one word to him about it, but I made up this really weird thing. Like I needed to go get this dip for like chips that I had at Walmart. So I was like, can you just take me to Walmart so I can go and get this? I'm like really craving it, which I wasn't. And I asked him to just drop me off at the front and I will just run in really fast and grab it. So I run in, grab this dip, and then I also grabbed like 5 pregnancy tests. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it went down. And so we get home, and when we get home, it's like 11 p.m. at night. And so in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to take this pregnancy test. It's super late at night. So in my head, I'm thinking it's going to be diluted. So it's going to be negative. So that was my thought process. And so I take it, and when you're looking at a pregnancy test, it has the little tester one that goes across, and then, it tells you like if you have 2 lines or whatever. And it did not even, the tester one did not even get all the way across. And it was just like, bam, like
Positive.
very pregnant. Yes, very positive. And I'm trying to figure out like how to explain my thoughts. Like I was so in shock. And so I don't even know how I felt. Like I still didn't say anything. I actually didn't tell my husband for a couple of days. So
Wow.
I just needed to process. So I ended up like getting in the bathtub that night. And mind you, it's like 11:30 at night. My husband was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, I just need to get in the bathtub. I just need to like decompress from the event. And I cried for like 2 hours. And I was like, this is not happening. I am 41 years old. So I'm sure the stories of the women who are just ecstatic about being pregnant in their 40s. And was not. I was not ecstatic, but I have reasonings, that I figured out since of, why that happened and all of that. But yeah, so I didn't tell anybody for 2 days. And then I took all 5 pregnancy tests, just like, of course they were all very positive because at this point I was already like 8, 9 weeks along and, I had no idea. So yes, I ended up telling my husband and I have a whole video. I don't know if you've seen it, but I ended up recording everybody's reactions in the beginning. And I'm so glad that I did because I put
Yeah.
together just a beautiful video of everyone's reactions. And when I tell my husband, we call him Saint Jeremy because he was the sweetest anyone could have ever been, so I hand him like all of these pregnancy tests that are wrapped up like in tissue paper and then like taped. And so he thought it was a present from Nashville. And so I give him, he's like, you didn't need to get me another present. You already got me something. And I was like, I know, just open it anyways. And so he finally opens it and it's these pregnancy tests. And he's like, what does this mean? You're pregnant? And he looks over at me and I'm just sobbing. Like I'm in my head at the moment, I'm thinking like my life is over. And he goes, well, what are you crying for? It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And then he gets up to hug me and do all of his stuff. And he says, it's a miracle, actually. And truly it is, like, it just because of everything, all the tests that we had done, and it had been so long. I mean, 16 years. And I mean, just everything that went down, it really is a miracle. So we just call her our little miracle baby. And what I figured out, though, and one of the reasons why I wasn't allowing myself to be, excited or really feel, is I did not understand this, but hopefully this will help someone. But until you go through it again, I don't think you understand, like, the trauma that happens, like, when you have those miscarriages. And so I definitely had PTSD from especially the first one, and just how it all went down. And, like, when I woke up and having, just bleeding everywhere and that whole thing, there was a lot of PTSD from that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, even being the whole time, well, and then even being while I was pregnant with this little one, I did have, like, spotting happening. So I spotted for a while. And so that was really crazy too. And I think it just triggered so many things of,
Yes.
she's not staying,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't allow myself to be excited or feel what I should have been feeling, because I was just so scared.
Yeah. Like you were
Yeah.
setting yourself up for heartbreak is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, but I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. But since I understood, more of, like, why I put that wall up, why, for a long time, until about my third trimester, I couldn't even look at baby stuff. I couldn't look at baby stuff. Like, my
Really?
husband, we'd go into stores and he would be like, do you want to go look at, cribs? Do you want to look at, and I couldn't.
Mhm.
We would walk over that way, and all of a sudden I was just like, I can't. Like, I can't. Like,
Yeah.
I can't even look at stuff. So we didn't announce our pregnancy until I was about 17 weeks. So
Mhm.
I think mentally I wanted to get past that 16-week mark where we had lost that first one.
Yeah.
But then I thought I would feel better, and I still didn't feel that peace that I was hoping
Mhm.
to find. And it really did take, like, until about my third trimester when I actually would allow myself to be excited. And then I would still feel that scared feeling. But at that point, I started to feel connected. Like, okay, I think she's staying, like, I think once even we got past, like, the 24, 25-week mark, where I knew, like, if we did go into labor, like, she would probably be okay, like,
Mhm.
we'd probably be able to save her. So it was a wild roller coaster of emotions from the very beginning. And I went through all of the feelings of scared to, I honestly was mad. I had conversations with God, like, are you kidding me? Like, I wanted this to happen for so long and it never did. And why now? Like, now my kids are grown, and this
Yeah.
baby is not going to grow up with any siblings or any, like, cousins or anything, So I went through this stage where I was upset. And
Yeah.
now looking back, like, I feel, I feel bad for all of those things. But in the moment, you can't really help how your body reacts, or,
Mhm.
like, your mind or anything like that. I think I just had to allow myself to feel what I was actually feeling.
Yeah. I totally get that. I've heard that from other women too about being upset. And I think it also stems from, we are such planners that your mind was already made up. I'm not having kids.
Yeah.
So don't change my plans again.
And you're right. And I am very much a person who is kind of a control freak. And so, yes, this was very much not in my plan, not anywhere on my radar. And so it really did throw me for a loop. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And not wanting to look at cribs, I totally get that. Like,
Yeah.
I am guilty of that too. And, like, I feel like I'm a pretender going and looking at cribs right now. I'm like, I can't do that yet. Not
Yeah.
yet.
I totally, yes, that's exactly. Well, and we had gotten rid of all of our baby stuff. Like,
Mhm.
I had nothing, nothing. I'm not somebody that saves stuff. And so I had nothing. I mean,
Mhm.
So it was really like we were starting completely over. And so I didn't want to like accumulate all this stuff again and then not have
Yep.
it happen.
Yeah,
So,
I get that.
yeah,
So physically, how was the pregnancy?
awesome. So there's, some yes, it was awesome. So I attribute so much of how well my body did because I was so nervous. Like now I'm 41. When I had a baby last time, I was 25. That is such a big difference. I was 22 and 25 when I had my kids. And 41 is a big difference. Like it's a big difference in your body. But because I was in such great shape, like I'm the strongest. I was the strongest before I got pregnant that I've ever been in my life.
Mhm.
Like truly. And there's a question on your outline that says, if you could give yourself or anyone else any advice, that is the advice that I would give everyone is to
Mhm.
have your body physically ready for that because
Mhm.
I really do believe it's why my pregnancy was so great. And I watch these 20-year-olds that they struggle so much through their pregnancy and I'm like, what is the deal? But that I know that's why because
Mhm.
I was in such great shape. My body was physically so strong and I'm so grateful. With my other two children I threw up, I was sicker than I was this time. And I was more sick with my daughter than I was with my son. And so I thought that that's how this one was going to go. I did not throw up one time. And it was so crazy that everything kind of went how it went. And even my daughter's labor was really, I would say, as far as labors go, it was really good and fairly simple, so like a fairly simple process. And, they told me with this one that it's basically because after 7 years, it's like your body is going through it the first time again. And I didn't know that. And so I'm like, well, it's been 16 years. So what's that going to be like? So they kept telling me, it's probably going to be like it was the first time, which that one wasn't super fun. So I was very much kind of dreading like how this whole thing was going to go down. And she ended up being my easiest labor.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes. And so I really, again, I attribute it to I worked out through my entire pregnancy, even when I was not feeling good through that whole first trimester, I just forced myself to go. And at this point, it had become a habit that because I have a workout group that I do every Tuesday and Thursday that, it's like weights and all of that. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday is more cardio classes. And so, but I had just created this awesome habit of going. And when you already have that established, it's like, it's just routine
Mhm.
for you to go. And even into my third trimester, I was still walking. I was not lifting anymore. My doctor thinks that that's why I was still or why I was spotting is because of the weight that I was actually lifting and the pressure that it was putting on my cervix. And so I ended up stopping like how much I was lifting, but I was still active. Like I was still going, I was still walking, I was doing body weight stuff. I just was no longer lifting weights.
Mhm.
But I believe that's why my pregnancy was what it was. I believe it's why my labor was what it was. And that is totally that's the advice that I'm even giving my daughter now. Like, make sure that your body is in a place when you do have kids that I really do believe it makes it so much easier and so much simpler because it's so stressful on your body to be pregnant. And I'm not saying that it was just all sunshine and rainbows. Like I had a lot of round ligament pain and had, towards the end, I was like, okay, I'm like ready to be done for sure because it's not easy in general. Being pregnant is not easy in general. So that is not what I'm saying. But I am saying that I do believe because of where I was at physically, it made the process more enjoyable and it made the process so much more doable.
Yeah, that's awesome. What
Yeah.
about finding out the gender? Did you find that out during pregnancy?
Yeah. So with when you can have a test done, genetic testing done after 9 weeks now that will tell you the risk level of your child having any major complications. So it checks for like Down syndrome, it checks for like the trisomy disorders, like all of those things, and it tells you what your risk level of each one of those is it like basically gives you a percentage of like, is there a high risk of your baby having Down syndrome? Is there a low risk? And so because of my age, and I know the chances of those things go up tremendously after 35, and then being, every year after that, those risks go up. So we chose to have that genetic testing done. And everyone's different on this, but I just felt like for us and for myself, I would want to know, like if there was something wrong or if there was, a disorder that the baby was going to have, I would need to have the mental capacity. So I would need to mentally prepare for that. Now, everyone's different, like I said, because I've had conversations with people that said, I just think I would want to know at birth and then we'd go from there.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably comes back, Jamie, to that control thing. But I was like, no, I would definitely I would need to know, I would need to plan for that. I would need to mentally prepare myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't because people have said, is it because you were going to terminate the pregnancy if you found out that it had that? Because that is an option. But for me, it was not that at all. It was not that at all. It was just that I would need to mentally prepare for what was going to come. And then we would go from there. So we had that. We had that test done when I think I was 10 weeks along, and it actually told us the risk level of all of those, and those all came back really low. And then it also told us that we were having a girl, and I thought it was a girl. Like, so when it all went down, I even told everyone, I'm pretty sure it's a girl. And, so everybody had their guesses. And then my sister, the same one, wanted me to have a gender reveal party and all of that. And I was like, I think we're past that. Like I'm 41. I do not think I need to participate in that. And so I ended up just having the nurse tell me on the phone that day that she called with my results. She just told me, that we were having a girl. And so I did find out what we were having, and that was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome.
I totally get wanting to mentally prepare. I think I would too. Just what you want to do. How do you want to go about it? And what about products? Was there anything that helped you during pregnancy that you could recommend?
For my nausea, because it kicked my butt that first trimester as far as like exhaustion goes. I remember being tired with the others, but I do not remember the level of exhaustion that I experienced with this one in that first trimester. And then I also get really, really bad headaches. And so there's not a lot of things that you can take when you're first pregnant, but I did find, so doTERRA oils, probably heard of that.
Yeah.
So my friend does that, and she concocted this little thing that I swear to you is like a miracle worker, but it's a blend. I mean, I could get you like all the oils that she puts in it. Maybe that would be fun for everyone.
Yeah.
I could definitely have her send me what's in it. But she did this little concoction of these oils that I would roll on my head and behind my ears every time I would get a headache. And I swear to you, at first I was like, there is no way, because within minutes my headache was gone and nothing was helping. Like the Tylenol I was taking, nothing was helping. And within minutes I was like, am I actually feeling what I'm feeling? Like, did it actually take it away? I was like, there is no way. And then my sister, the same sister, experiences like severe headaches and has had all sorts of things. And we were going somewhere, and I had 3 sisters. So there was 2 sisters with me, and my one sister had a headache. So I was like, well, try this little roller thing. And so she tried it, and she was like, within minutes, she was like, my headache is gone. And I was like, I know, right? Like, I swear to you, like, I thought for a while I was just imagining it, but I wasn't. And then it did the same thing for my sister. And then my other sister that gets headaches was like, well, let me try it, because I get crazy headaches, and she takes like insane medicine for hers. And she put it on, and same thing, like it was able to soften her headache. And even now still. So she has my friend make her bottles of that, and she just keeps it around. And it's like this little miracle worker. So that helped me, that little miracle worker, whatever she puts in it of those little oils. And then the other thing was like ginger, and they were actually from doTERRA as well. But I know you can get those, like the ginger cough drops almost, where it's like infused with ginger, because ginger is supposed to help with nausea. And those, I kind of sucked on those like they were candy when I was nauseous. And so those ginger cough drops helped me a ton when I was pregnant. is it called Zofran? Is it Zofran, the nausea medicine the doctor prescribes? So the doctor prescribed me that and I took it. So whatever one it is, but I can't remember what it is, but it's whatever the doctor gives you when you're super nauseous.
Oh,
Okay.
you're right.
So
You're right. It
is
is
it?
Zofran. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what it is. So he prescribed me that and it made me so constipated and I
Mm,
already deal with that anyways. And so it was awful. Like it was awful as far as that went. So I stopped taking it and I will never take it again because it was just like it made that so much worse. And we went on a cruise. This is going to be TMI, but it is what it is. I told you I'm just kind of open. But we went on a cruise and I couldn't, do the patch behind my ear for nausea on our cruise. And so I decided to take my Zofran and we left on Thursday and I still by the next Thursday had not went to the bathroom. And by that time, and at this point I'm 20 weeks pregnant and experiencing that, it was awful. So on our
pain.
cruise, oh, it was awful. And on your cruise, you eat like a crazy person. And so I had all this food that had been pent up for like a week straight. And so my husband ended up going to the medical facility on board and getting me a liquid enema. And so we ended up having to do that on the cruise. And thankfully that helped. But I will never take that again. So hopefully it helps some people. But yeah, my experiences, it just made that so much worse.
Mhm.
So the things that helped me were the little pills that had the ginger in them and then that headache roller.
Yeah. And what about your doctor? Because you haven't been to a baby doctor in a long time.
Yeah, and my doctor that I had from my daughter 16 years ago had retired, obviously. So I didn't know what to do. And, we didn't tell anyone. Me and my husband were the only two that knew. And I told him I wanted to go to the doctor first before we told anyone, like our kids and stuff, because, I didn't know if it was like an ectopic pregnancy or if it was like, there was just so many things in my head. Like I needed like proof that it was actually real and just that confirmation before we told everyone. So what I decided, and I just feel like God's hand was in so much of this. I truly believe that because I was like, well, I'll go to the doctor's office that I went to 16 years ago. And then, I'll just go see them to like confirm that we're pregnant. And then I'll ask around and I'll just decide who we want to go to. So we ended up going to that doctor and here's the crazy part is my sister had went to this facility for something else, not even being pregnant. And I went to her with one of her appointments and the doctor that was helping her was just awesome. Like he had such great bedside manner and was just so funny. And I have a tendency to be a little bit inappropriate. And so usually other people that have that same type of humor, I really click with and get along with. And this doctor had that. And so I was like, he's so great. Like he's such a great doctor. Like, if I ever had problems, I would want to go to him. Well, that was years ago. So I had forgotten about that. And here's what's crazy, Jamie, is when I went in for that doctor's appointment, they told me who I was going to see. Of course, I was like, okay, well, I have no idea who that is because I don't even go in regularly for like my like yearly appointments, right? I can't even tell you the last time I had that done. So it was just like crazy. I hadn't been for a long time. And lo and behold, guess who walked in
It was
when
him.
it was him. Isn't
Wow.
that so crazy? So when he walked in, I was just like, oh my gosh, like how crazy is that? Well, again, I just think that was another God wink. Like I felt like God was just like, listen, I got you. It's going to be fine. And so, of course, I was just like, well, there's no need for me to find another doctor. I will just stay. So I asked him, is it fine if I just see you? Because they have like 3 other doctors in
Mhm.
there. Is it fine if I just see you through my pregnancy? And he said, yeah, that's totally fine. And then another funny part of this whole thing is he didn't end up delivering her because he was going to be out of town. And
So
so,
funny.
yeah, but it all worked out. It all worked out great. But just, I think I feel like God was more just like, I got you. It's going to be fine. Like, here's just another confirmation of, it's going to be fine. Like, I
Mhm.
think there was just so many things throughout this whole pregnancy that I felt that confirmation and I felt just like more peace about the whole process.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what about preparing for baby and birth? Because it's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have never went to one birthing class. Out of any of my
What?
pregnancies.
No way.
I've never went to one birthing class. I'm kind of like a pray and stay girl. And so kind of my philosophy with birth was that I've seen and I've heard so many women have like all these birth plans and then it never goes according to the plan because babies do what they want to do anyways. And so I just felt like I was just going to pray before the whole thing. And I felt like so much peace that everything had worked out how it was supposed to up until that point. And so, no, I've never taken a birthing class and I just felt like I'm just going to be calm in my mind. So I feel like for me, it was more about mental preparation and me just being in a good place in my head and then just being willing to be open-minded to whatever the process brought us. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
just whatever the process brought us. And I feel like it served me so well because I was just like, I felt like I wanted to get an epidural. I had epidurals with both of my other kids. And then I had this brief moment where I was like, maybe I should just try it natural. And then the other part of me was like, nah, I don't want to do that. I mean, I'm already 41. I'm already going through all this process again. Nah, I don't want to do that. And I will say, getting my epidural with this one was like, and it wasn't bad, but I just really don't like needles. But it was like the worst part of my labor. And I mean, epidurals aren't fun to get, so, but for me, it just made it so that but my epidural with this one was so great. As like once I had it, it was so great because I could still feel pressure. I could still wiggle and move my feet. I could still move my legs, but like the intense pain, that I was having with my contractions before I got it, I just didn't have the intense pain, but I had, I still had sensation and all of that. So yeah, I'm not against, if anyone wants to do it natural. I think like that is amazing for you. That is so great. I just didn't want to.
And that's okay.
Yeah. So, and yeah, that's how I felt too. Like everyone's different. And yeah, so we did it all natural again. And I didn't have to have a C-section or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it was so fast, Jamie. Like,
what about, did they want to induce you?
Yeah, I did get induced actually.
How far along were you then?
39 weeks.
Okay, so just a week.
Yeah, 39 weeks to the day. And it was my own choice. It wasn't the doctors asking me. It wasn't anything. But what happened is my dad never says anything really about anything. And we were at a party for my nephew's graduation a few months previous. So probably when I was about 4 or 5 months along. And my dad said to me, he said, I just keep thinking, wouldn't it be so cool if you had her on my mom's birthday? And my grandma's already passed away. And I was like, well, when is that? And he said, it's September 5th. And I was like, okay. So my original due date was September 12th. Okay. So here's another God wink, like so many, I feel like. So my doctor told me that he would start me like 1 week from my due date if I wanted him to. So what is 1 week exactly from September 12th?
September 5th.
September 5th. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like,
it's perfect.
Like, so am I supposed to do that? Is that
definitely
another, like, sign? Is it a God wink? Like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like, what are the chances of that working out exactly to that date? And so I was like, okay. So I talked to my doctor and I said, if everything's good, what are your thoughts about that? And he was like, well, I'm going to be out of town. So I can start you the day before, I can start you the day after. And I was like, well, that defeats the purpose of September 5th. Like, that's not going to work. So I ended up getting started on September 5th. And what's really cool about it is we kept it a secret from my dad. So he had no idea. Yeah, he had no idea. And my mom and my sister made up a lie of why they had to go to the hospital and all of that. It was so crazy. And my dad, if you know my dad, he was like, well, I'm not going in the hospital. Like, I'm not going in there. So they basically had to drag him into the hospital. And at this point, I had already had her. And he was so confused. Like, even when he came in the room, he was so confused, like what was happening, because they were supposed to be at the hospital for my sister, whatever story they made up. So when he seen me sitting there, he was like, what the heck? Like, he was just so confused. And then, was able to put that all together. And it was just such a sweet moment. Like, it was just such a beautiful moment. And yeah, when he realized what day it was and that he was there and she was there, and it was beautiful. Like, it was just such a beautiful moment. So we had her on September 5th, my grandma's birthday, and it actually is my sister-in-law, my husband's sister's birthday as well. And I didn't even realize like the significance of that date. And so, yeah, so she shares a birthday with her grandma, not her great grandma, her grandma, and also with my husband's sister.
I love that. You want to get into more detail about like your birth and going in and starting all that story?
Yeah, I would love to. So the day before, what's really crazy too, we had a lot happen. Oh, we had a lot happen the week before. And so I am very like connected to animals, like very, very connected to animals. And I kind of had this mini farm going on. So I had a miniature pony who I'd had since he was 4.5 months old. And I also had a mini goat, and they were best friends. And the Friday before we had her, so I had her Tuesday, and the Friday before, my pony passed away. And
Oh,
it was awful. So like, if I'm ever going to cry through this whole thing, it will be now. But it was awful. It was so awful and so traumatic. And how when you're pregnant, it's just like your hormones are all over the place anyway. So that happened. And what's really crazy is we had decided that my husband was going to get a vasectomy before we had her also. And so here's how it went down. That Friday, we went to visit my pony because he was at the vet because of some complications that he was having. And he had a major, major surgery. And so that happened on like Wednesday night. His major surgery happened on Thursday. So Friday morning, we were heading to my husband's vasectomy, and we stopped to see him. So his name is Pumpkin. And so we stopped to see Pumpkin at the vet, and he was good. He was fine. Not really. I mean, he had surgery the day before, so he was a little out of it, but like tried to come out the door with us and like was good. So we went and did my husband's vasectomy, got him home. I got him like all situated. And then I was like, well, I'm going to go back and, sit with Pumpkin just to be there with him. Cause he's seriously like one of my children, not even kidding. And he was 4 years old. So not very old either. And when I got there, he literally like passed away moments before I got there.
oh,
Like I walked in and the vet tech was just going in there to like check on him. So it was awful. Like, so the weekend
yeah.
before was just so I thought that I was going into labor Friday night because I was very, very hysterical. So my contractions were very consistent, and then they weren't. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So like, cause I was so hysterical and it was such a traumatic thing. So that happened, and I made it through it without crying. So good job me. Cause it's just really hard. Like the whole thing is just really hard how it
Yeah.
all happened. So my contractions were pretty intense on Friday. They started again on Saturday because I was still just like, not okay. And then Sunday, we decided like the fair. So we're very big into the county fair or the state fair. So we go every year. And I was like, let's just go to the fair. So let's eat some food. Let me just like, and my husband's like, well, what if you go into labor? I'm like, we're 40 minutes from the hospital. If I go into labor, we can make it back in time. It will be totally fine. So there was a lot of walking during the time at the fair. My contractions were, pretty intense as well. But it was like, as soon as I stopped, they would stop. So as soon as I
Mhm.
stopped walking, they would stop. So that was kind of like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, same type of thing. Like my contractions would start, but then they would stop. And so Tuesday morning is when I was scheduled to go in, but I had already been having contractions.
Mm-hmm.
My body from the other previous pregnancies and births that I gave, like, has a hard time like starting to dilate. So they ended up starting me with both of my other kids. My son was 2 days over, and I still was not dilated at all with him. So
Wow.
they ended up starting me. My daughter, they started me 3 days early just because I was ready to be done. I was like, I'm just done. So they started me with her. And so with this one, we had scheduled the September 5th. And so I went in like early in the morning. So we had to be there at 6:30. They got us all checked in. And by the time we did the paperwork, got me all checked in, it's now probably about 7:30, I would say. So they get me upstairs. They start the drug that they're going to start administering is Pitocin, right? To
Hmm.
get my like contractions. She checks me and I'm at like a 1. So even though I was having some really intense contractions, my body was starting to dilate, but like my cervix wasn't very thinned out. It was like still like 90%. Like it
Hmm.
was still very much intact. And so they started my Pitocin and just like started, my labor process. And a couple hours later, so this is probably like 9:30, my doctor came in, the one who is not my doctor, but the one who's going to deliver my baby, the one that's in the office with him. And he was such a great a person. Like if my doctor wasn't going to deliver her, I'm so glad that he did. So
Hmm.
he was so amazing. But he came in and said, I have a C-section scheduled with this other patient at noon. So I will, after I get that all done, I will come in and we'll break your water. So that's what he said to me. And I was a little bummed because I was like, oh, I was really hoping we would have her before then. So, but he was just like, well, we'll come in and break your water. So I said, okay, that's totally fine. So I had just prepared that, we probably won't have her till late afternoon. So that was the thought process. So every hour, my nurse, she would come in and kind of like help me rotate like different positions so that, basically just helps your body labor better.
Hmm.
And so that's what we did. And about 10:30 or 11, somewhere right in there, I ended up getting my epidural because my contractions were coming like pretty intense. And when you have Pitocin, it amplifies like your
Yep.
contractions, so it makes them harder. And so, yeah, by about 10:30, 11, I was like, okay, I think I'm over it. Like, I think I'm good. So they came in, gave me my epidural, and, it's very fast acting. So we got that done. And so that's at about 10:30 or 11. So she checks me again. And I'm at like I'm between, she said like a 2 and a 3, but still like I really still wasn't very effaced. Like my cervix was still really thick. So I said, okay, so we'll just keep doing what we're doing. And so I took a nap and, my husband and my sister. So my sister that kept praying for me to be pregnant, right? So I'm very close with her and she was in there with me as well. So it was those two. And so at about 1, let's see, I want to see how this all went down. So at about 12:30 she came in and that's when she checked me. I was between like a 2 and a 3. Okay. So at 1:30 she came back in to help me roll over or move to a new position. And when she did this time I was sitting up and she said, well, how about we lay you back this time? And I was like, okay, that's totally great. So when she goes to lay me back, my water breaks. So my water has never broke on its own with the other ones, but it did break. It just broke, and you could hear it. It was like, like it was a big splash. So my husband was like, "Wow, okay." So I heard that as well, and so my nurse said, "Okay, so let's get you all cleaned up." So she takes the bedding that's underneath me, because now it's soaking wet. And she's like, let's get you all cleaned up. So she removes the bedding, removes all the things that are under me. And that takes a little bit, that takes probably like 10 minutes or so. So at this time, it's probably about 1:45, I would say 1:50, somewhere in there. And I said, so are you going to check me again? And she said, yeah, I just want to get all this cleaned up and then I'll check you again. And I said, okay, well, I'm feeling a lot of pressure. Like a lot of pressure. And she was like, okay, let me hurry and get this cleaned up and then I'll check you. So at this time, it's about 155. All right. So about 155. And I'm like telling her, okay, so the pressure is getting, I think we should check me because the pressure is getting like more and more intense. So she checks me. And like I said, it's about 155. And she goes, oh, and we're having a baby. It's like your baby's head is literally like right there. And so of course, I'm like, I told you, like I told you. And even before, when with my daughter that's 16, I went from a 3 to a 10 very quickly. Like very
Wow.
quickly. So I had mentioned that to my nurse. I had said, just so you know, I had went from a 3 to a 10 very quickly with that. And she's like, well, that was 16 years ago. And I'm like, you're right. Like, so I have no idea. I have no idea how my body is going to do. And that's exactly what happened again. I went from like between a 2 and a 3 to a 10 just very, very quick. And the baby's head was right there. And she goes, okay, so what I need you to do is just cross your ankles and hold your thighs together. And I was like, okay, so is my doctor coming? Because he's still in his C-section. And she said, he's not done. He's not done with your C-section, with that C-section. And I was like, so are you delivering my baby? What is happening? And she's like, I can't. I don't want to because it's a lot more paperwork on my end.
Oh, poor her.
I know, right? So I was like, okay, so, in my head, I'm just like, we're just going to stay calm because, I've mentally prepared for things not to go how how I thought they were going to go.
Mm-hmm.
She said there is a on-call doctor here at the hospital and there's also a midwife. So I've got calls into both of those. So she called, told the doctors like, we're having a baby now. And at this time, it's about 2:05. Okay. So it's about 2:05. She's got the call into like these other doctors. So we're kind of just like waiting for this other doctor to come in. And at this point, I'm literally like kind of just having to hold her in because like my body is like ready to just push her out. And then about 2:06, I would say probably right around there, my doctor came running in the room. So he finished the C-section and came running into the room. And I was so grateful. And he was like, okay, so I made it. And so he looks down there and he's like, oh yeah, like her head is like right there. So he's like putting his gloves on, doing his stuff. And we had her at 2:12.
Oh my gosh.
So it was like, yeah, so it was and it was more of just like him. I pushed times. I ended up like my sister videoed it from like up here. So you can see like my legs, but you can't see like from that angle. But if you watch the video, like I was pushing so hard, like my amniotic fluid like shot out and shot the doctor like literally in the face and like kind of got the nurse, kind of got my husband. It was kind of just like this big this big explosion that happened. And I think I maybe pushed 3 times. He had me push like very small pushes. And my nurse was great. She was like, breathing with me, like, counting from 1 to 10, like when I was pushing. And yeah, out she came and just crying. And I cried. It was like such a beautiful moment and it was just very, very fast.
And was there anything important to you after birth, skin to skin or anything like that?
Yeah, skin to skin was important to me. So, and I wanted to know if she had hair. So she came out with like black hair. And so I did skin to skin for about 45 minutes with her. And that was really awesome that we were able to do that. So then they, clamped the cord and my husband was able to cut that. But also like so the baby came out very fast, but I had I think it was an anterior placenta. So it was really high. My placenta was really high and it was also on the outside. And so it also kind of made it hard in the beginning to hear the baby because it had to go through the placenta. Does that make sense? So sometimes the placenta's in the back, but then mine was in the front. So yeah, so and the placenta was also really, really high. So the baby came out really fast, but my placenta didn't. And I will tell you, I'm really glad that I did have an epidural for this whole part because he had to like knead my stomach like pretty forcefully. And he worked on my stomach for the whole 45 minutes. Like, so it got to the point where he was like, if I can't get this to come out, like I'm going to have to actually like go up there and like get it. And
Whoa.
he was like, yeah, he's like, if that's the case, like you're probably gonna, I think my sister said, you're probably gonna want to push your button again for your epidural, like another dose of your epidural if he has to do that. And he was like, yeah, I would push my button too, like if that's what I have to do. And I'd never heard of that. So, he just kept like working on it. And he actually was able to get it all out. So that was a beautiful blessing that he didn't have to go up there and get it. But the whole time he did that, I just did skin to skin with baby.
Mhm.
And then once they got that done, then I had them take the baby and they, got her all cleaned up. Cause when you do skin to skin right after, they don't clean the baby up. They just put them right on you and you just sit there with baby. And then as when you're ready, then they take them and kind of get them all cleaned up and do what they need to do and check her for all of her things that they do.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that was important and that was really special. And then right after that, because my daughter was at school and I had told her, go to school. I don't know how long it's going to take. And we had discussed like if she gets out of school and she comes up there and I still haven't had her, she's welcome to be in the room and like be there present. I kept going back and forth on that because I was like, if something does go wrong, I don't know that I want her to experience that to like scar her, for like
Mhm.
her future stuff. So I kind of just left it up to her, but we ended up having her before she got out of school. So as soon as she was out, she came right down. So before they even moved me to like my other room, she was in the room with us and got to be there, for like right after we had her. So that was really fun for her to be able to see that too.
Yeah, definitely. That's so special. And what were you thinking through those moments?
It was really surreal, to be honest with you, like to actually have her there because I think for so long, I really didn't think it was real. It was so weird in my head, Jamie. Like it was so weird in my head for so long. And so to have her there and like it just seems surreal. Like I feel like that's how I can only describe it. It seems surreal to actually have this little miracle baby here and then my other daughter that's 16, be in the same room and I don't even know how to describe it. Like my heart was just like so full and just, I felt like she was such an unexpected piece to our family, cause I really never thought that we were going to have another one. And so even though I wanted it so bad for so long, but I never, and then even when I got pregnant, just that whole turmoil that I went through mentally that it was just surreal. I think that's the only way I can really describe it. It was just such a beautiful, surreal moment that I was just so grateful for. I was just so grateful to have her there and to have her I think yeah, just watching the whole thing unfold and then to see my husband with her and then my kids, my son was able to come later and just to see them with her, they're obsessed with her. They're just so they're so adorable with her and that has been so fun to watch, because I went through all those thoughts about, she's not going to grow up with siblings and even now, it makes me a little sad that she's not going to have the same relationships. But then I just had to like take a step back and be like, but there's a reason for that. Like, I feel like this is her journey as much as it is ours. Like, God gave us her now. And so there's got to be a reason why she's here now and didn't come before. So it's
Hmm.
her journey as much as it is ours. And so I think like once I accepted that, I was just like, it's okay. Like, she's here now. That's where she's supposed to be. It's when she's supposed to be. And I think like once I really just allowed myself to accept the timeline, then I just had so much more peace about it.
And how was your recovery?
Awesome. I feel like I'm so boring because I feel like my pregnancy was good, my labor was great, my recovery was great, and I'm going to say again, I attribute it all. I will say my pelvic floor that has been hard. Like because I didn't work out before when I had my other kids, and so trying to go back to my workouts now, my pelvic floor has been it's just really weak, and
Mhm.
so having to build that back up because in my head, I'm thinking like, I was so strong before. Like, I'm probably just going to be right back to where I was. And that has not been the case. Like, my pelvic floor has really, it was so sore. Like, my pelvic floor was just so sore for a long time. And even now, I mean, I feel like my hips and stuff are starting to like be back to normal, like
Mhm.
kind of like where they were, but my pelvic floor is still really weak. So it's been like, cause I have went back to the gym. So we're just slowly trying to like build that back. So I'm just slowly trying to build that back. But like, I felt like without that, I felt like my recovery was really good. Like I don't feel, cause I didn't rip or I didn't tear or anything. And
Wow.
so I know, right? Like my doctor, and I think most doctors do this where they take oil or like KY jelly and they like help stretch, stretch you before the baby comes out. And they did that with my daughter that's 16 as well. And I feel like it made a huge difference. And I feel like that was one thing that I talked to him about was if they used oil, and he said they used KY jelly and they just kind of like stretch everything to try to help the baby come out easier. And I feel
Mhm.
like that made a huge difference. So I think the fact that I didn't tear or I didn't rip also, I think plays a huge part in like how you recover. And like I was up walking around, I mean, within an hour or two. And I mean, like yeah, like I feel like it was fine. And I think even mentally, like once she got here, I think I was just so grateful. And my mindset with this one versus the other ones when I was younger is just so different. Like I know how, and that's what I kept telling myself through the pregnancy, even though I was in turmoil in my head, but I tried to just really enjoy every single thing because with my other two, I never thought that they were my last. I never thought Harley was my last. You know what I mean? I never
Yeah.
thought Riker was. And so with this one, knowing my husband just had a vasectomy, like I feel like I understood that this was my last. And so even now, like I'm just so much more in the moment that I know how fast the time goes. I know because before you know it, your kids are 20 and 16. And I knew the newborn stage, even though it's challenging because it's a new phase but it goes so fast. You really only have a newborn for about 7 weeks and then they're never a newborn again. And
Hmm.
so every time she got up in the night, like I'm not even kidding, every single time I would just like, it was just like, okay, we're up, it's fine. Like here we are. And even now, like when she gets up, like I physically just choose to like every single time she gets up, just be like so grateful that we're up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so grateful that we're in this moment and this season in our life. And I did not have that same thought process before. Like
Hmm.
when and that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Do you think that's because of age or just because you wanted her for so long?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I really do. And maybe there are some women who in their 20s are fully able to grasp that whole thing. I was not one of them.
Hmm.
I wish that I could tell you I was, but I just wasn't. I think I was just like, so back then I was just so go, go, go that I feel like I was a good parent, but I don't feel like I fully took advantage of like those moments
Hmm.
that I do now, that I'm so grateful and I'm so in the moment. And I took, the whole month of September, I took off and I really just was home with her. And that was something I wasn't able to do with my other kids as well. Financially back then, we weren't able to do that. Like I had my daughter on a Thursday, and the next Thursday I did hair then in a salon, and the next Thursday I was back at the salon. So a
Oh
week
my
later,
gosh.
yeah.
Wow.
So I just wasn't able to do, what I do now. And it's just been very different. Like I feel like I'm just in a more calm place. We're in it financially, we're in a different place,
Hmm.
mentally, physically, like all of the above. Like, Carson just gets a very different version of me than my other kids did.
Yeah. Yeah. Mentally, you sounded really amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I feel
Yeah.
like I've really worked on that. So to be able to be in the place I am now, and go through this process again, I feel like is such a beautiful blessing that I was given, because it is very different for me. And like I said, there's probably women who are able to fully embrace where they are in their 20s. And I wasn't in that same place that I am now.
Yeah. And how did you choose to feed your baby?
Yeah, so we do both. So she nursed for the first little bit, and then we also did formula. And now, like, I pump a lot, like every 3 hours, because she's very, very impatient. Like, she's very impatient. And so for me to like nurse her, it's almost like, I don't know if when we gave her the bottle, it just like she got so used to it coming out so fast that, you don't really have to work for it. And so that probably did something. But I do love doing both. I did both with both of my other kids, and I love the flexibility that it does give us. But so now I pump a lot. I pumped a lot. And so we do both. And then every once in a while she will nurse, but it's like not very often because she just has meltdowns. So, but we still try, so we still try. And that's been different too, because I think back then I just would have been like, no, we're done, it's fine. But now I'm just like, I have the patience where, she can have her little meltdowns or whatever. And I just, I just talk to her and we're fine. And, it just is what it is. So if she will, then I nurse her. And if she won't, then I just go get a bottle. And I'm just trying to enjoy like every phase of like what it is that we're doing. Yeah. So we do both.
I love that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to mention about your pregnancy or birth?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I mentioned a lot. No, I mean, I just think I want to reiterate to anybody who listens is just about the physical activity. And I do understand that some women get so sick that they really just can't, or they feel like they can't, and I want to just reiterate that even in those moments where I was so nauseous and everything, doing what I could do, even if it was just a walk around my subdivision or whatever, even in the moments where I was hurting so bad, like my round ligament pain, I'm not even kidding, got so bad. And my sciatic nerve, I had some pretty major issues with that. I just pushed through it. I did use a belly band that was like those supporting bands that go around you and like kind of hold up your stomach when I was working out and when I was walking. And that did help. That did help. So if anybody struggles with that, I would suggest that, like the belly band, because that really did help. So, but I really just think that physical activity it was a game changer for my pregnancy, my birth, my recovery, for all of the things.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And do you have more plans to have kids in your 40s?
So I don't. I mean, because
because your husband had a vasectomy.
Yeah. So we chose to do that. And here's what's kind of funny is the day that we had her, I looked at my husband and I was like, maybe we should have just maybe had one more, tried for one more. But I'm like, is that a thing? Like, I don't even know, because I feel like she was just such a miracle. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do I want to like actually like try to put myself through like actually trying to get pregnant again? And so, but when the day we had her, I looked at him and I said, maybe we should have just tried for one more. And I just given birth. It's so funny. Like, my mind is like, it's just so different. But we did choose to have him get a vasectomy, because then I was like, well, now that we know that it's even an option, and my husband at this point is almost 50, Jamie, like he's 48 years old. And so, I feel like we're okay. And I think like once I also accepted that this is her journey as much as it is ours, because, of course, everyone has said to me, well, now you need another one. So she's not an only child and, all of this. But I think like once I just accepted this is her journey as well as ours, like she's here with us now. It's okay. Like she might grow up a little different than how my other kids did, but it's okay. It's not wrong. It's just different than how they did. And I think that just gave me peace of mind. So no, we're not planning to have any more.
What has been your biggest challenge being pregnant in your 40s?
Oh, so yeah, it was the mental game. So it was the mental game, and it was the PTSD that I did not know that I had, so that really was, it was hard. Like that trauma that I didn't know that I had, that got triggered, when I found out I was pregnant, because I mean, and I wish I could tell you it went away, but it didn't. Like throughout my entire pregnancy, every every single time, without a doubt, like every time I would go to the bathroom, I thought there was going to be blood, like
I know.
every single time I went. And
Hmm.
that was awful. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
having that turmoil of like that, and just all the triggers of like everything that happened with those miscarriages and stuff. I would say hands down that was the hardest part, was
Hmm.
just the mental game, and me not allowing myself, and it's not that I was trying to do that. It's just what my body was doing. My head was not allowing myself to like be connected, or like I just had this major guard up, just this major wall that it just took a long time, and it eventually did come down, but it did not come down for a long time, like so probably around 30, 37, 38 weeks, I would say that's when it maybe came down, and I felt connected to her, like because I could feel her moving and everything, but it was still just so hard,
Yeah.
because I just was, and I know it was just that I was so scared that
Hmm.
she wasn't going to stay still,
Yeah.
so that for sure was the hardest part.
Mm, I feel that definitely. Is there anything you'd recommend that would help prepare someone for pregnancy and birth over 40?
I mean, I feel like I've been recommending that the same thing. And I cannot say enough good things about just the physical activity. Because I
Yeah.
think, as we grow up, we have so many experiences in life that, you know, we are growing so much through our 20s, our 30s, our 40s. We're becoming just better versions, hopefully, of like who we already are. And
Hmm.
so I think, by the time you are 40, you've got you've got some things figured out. I hope, you know what I mean? I mean, I feel like it took me a while. I mean, I feel like I learned so much about myself through my 20s, learned even more about myself through my 30s, and I've really been on such a growth process physically for the last few years, that was again just such a beautiful blessing that I didn't know was going to help me so much, through this whole process. So that's, I think, the advice in general that I would give women is just, how and what are you doing to better yourself, to physically better yourself, to mentally better yourself, and then just, like what does that growth for you look like? Because I feel like we're either moving forward or we're moving backwards. There's no standing still.
Hmm.
We're going forward or we're going backward. And so I choose to stay, focused on the future and like what that's going to bring us. And then how can I just be better? And now I'm like, I told my husband, like, listen, you've got to start going to the gym. You have to start eating more salads, because now we have this little baby that she's expecting us to be here for her. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And so it really does put into perspective too, like, you can't be mentally the best you are unless your physicality is also matching, right? Like I feel
Hmm.
like they go hand in hand. And so that's probably just what I would suggest, and just, pose that question to like, what are you doing for yourself to physically and mentally just be better for yourself? And
Hmm.
then I think the other thing is, what are you doing to make sure that your bucket is filled? Because in my profession, I work with a lot of women who they give and give and give and give and give, and you cannot give from an empty cup. So, being a mother, it takes so much from you, and having a brand new baby again, you forget, like, you are their sole support, right? Like they rely on you for everything. And that in itself is a whole nother level, right? Just to have one person depend solely on you. And so if you're not taking the time for yourself, like I just feel like now more than ever, it's so important. So like those little things, what's sad too, though, is a lot of the women that I work with and I coach and I mentor, when I ask them, tell me 5 things that fill your bucket, tell me 5 things that bring you joy. There are so many women that cannot do that.
I believe it.
Yeah. And that is so heartbreaking to me because as women, we give so much. And, a lot of times our families are the ones that get what's left of us, right? They're the
Hmm.
ones that gets what's left of us. And so, taking that time for yourself. And so every day I make sure that I do something for me. Like I like to get ready. Like I like to put on my makeup. I like to do my hair. And it is really because it makes me feel better. It makes
Hmm.
me feel better. And that is so important so that, the people around me are getting the best version of myself. So whether that's like a hot bath that I take for myself or even just like 15 minutes, if I read a book, going for a walk, like fills my bucket, so I'm making sure that I'm spending time with people also that are filling my bucket and not depleting it. So that's probably the other thing that I would hope and that the advice that I give is just making sure that you are taking time for yourself and you are doing those things that are filling your bucket because you know that you're going to be giving so much.
Hmm. I love that. And what advice would you give yourself when you were pregnant if you could go back?
Now being in hindsight and knowing that we did make it through the pregnancy full term and that she is good and she's beautiful and she's healthy and she's all the things. Like I had an affirmation on my mirror the entire time that I was pregnant that said, God brought you to it. So he's going to get you both through it healthy. And so that was the affirmation that I said every single day. So knowing now what I know now, I wish I could go back to those first months, where I was just so worried, so worried
Yeah.
and that PTSD that kicked in. I wish I could alleviate that, but I don't know that there's anything that would have, because of past traumas. I don't know
Hmm.
that there's anything that would have. But if I could go back and know what I know now, that's what I would take out is just, trying to really truly just enjoy every moment because that's what I've done now, right? So
Hmm.
just what I've done now, every moment that I've had with her. I wish I could go back to those very first few moments and just tell myself, we are going to make it. You are going to be fine. So you might as well just like enjoy this from day one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Yeah.
And what would you tell those other women over 40 who are trying to conceive?
I
What
mean,
advice would you have for
miracles
them?
happen all the time. And I really do believe our mental state plays a big part. I do believe in manifestation and like what you manifest and put out into the world is going to come back to you. And
Hmm.
so, I don't know. I don't know that I manifested this, but my sister sure as heck did.
She did.
She did for sure. So, I think just like I think going back, I'm going to go back to what I just said and just getting yourself to a place where you are making progress mentally and physically for whatever comes your way. Like, so, those women who are, trying to conceive in their 40s, it still is possible. And I will tell you what my ultrasound tech said to me, because I had never heard this from anyone else. But my ultrasound tech said to me, there is a fertility spike that happens right before menopause. So there's a
Mm.
fertility spike that happens in your 40s. And I had never heard that before. So I had heard that, in your, like basically after your 30s, like your fertility goes down. But
Hmm.
she said that there is a fertility spike that happens in your 40s. And so I was like, wait, what? So that's apparently like a really big thing. So I feel like that should give women in their 40s hope that, that there is a fertility spike that happens. And so just knowing that, I feel like gave me peace of mind almost that, you
Hmm.
know, that this could happen again and that it happened for a specific reason. So that's what I would say is just to have hope and just get yourself in a place where mentally and physically you're being a better version of who you were maybe even in your 30s or in your 20s so
Hmm.
that you are ready because as we get older it's not going to get easier, right? I mean, we know that it's going to be hard. So if you are mentally, why can I not say that word? Mentally and physically in a better place, I feel like that's going to be helpful all the way around for everyone.
Hmm. Perfect.
Yeah.
And where can our listeners connect with you?
Yeah, so they can connect with me. I'm on 3 different platforms. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and on TikTok. So on Facebook, it's just Jenn Kirkham. So Jenn, and then my name, Kirkham. So Jenn Kirkham. And then on Instagram and TikTok, it's actually JK Lifestyle Beauty. And I said in the very beginning, I'm a Cadillac sales director with Mary Kay. So I mentor women to basically help them design their life. And, we have a large organization. I've been in Mary Kay for over 15 years, and it's very much become my passion. So I love helping them design whatever. So whether that's on a physical way. So I help them find skincare and color products that are best suited for them, or whether that's, in more of a way for building a business from the ground up. So I love and have such a passion for helping women become the best versions of themselves. And I feel like my journey has not been perfect by any means, but Mary Kay was probably one of the best things that could have ever happened to me, just for the personal growth in itself. Like I always say, if I had to give everything back, I had to give the cars back that I've earned. I've earned 9 cars.
Wow.
I had to give the cars back, the diamonds, the financial part, but I got to keep who I am today. I would do it all over again in a heartbeat, because that is everything to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything to me. And now, knowing what I know now, and having, this beautiful little miracle, and having a business that is sustainable, that I have been able to take the time off that I've wanted to really be present with her,
mm-hmm.
is just, it's everything to me.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. And Jamie, thank you for reaching out and asking me, because I haven't got a chance to share my full story. And so it's really a beautiful thing that you are doing. So thank you for, being bold, and for taking this step to have this podcast and letting women share their stories and be such inspirations to us, because we are a special group of women that are over 40 that get this opportunity. So thank you for allowing me to share my story.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It was amazing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next Monday.